me, big software security vendor, I'm buying from him the security research related to his software. So what I'm going to do, as long as I obtain such research, I inform the vendor about the vulnerability existence, and I don't inform the public until a patch is produced. It sounds good. It sounds good, but it's not good. Why? Because you can be warned, actually, about such vulnerability if you pay. The companies who are paying the software security vendors, they are warned, but not the rest of the world. The rest of the world still is vulnerable until a patch is released. I don't think this is nice. Through our project, you find immediately on the marketplace the news about the existence of all the vulnerabilities which are passing in our hands. And you can understand immediately if such vulnerabilities are related to your own system or to somebody else's system. You are warned, and it is for free. Everybody is warned. The full world is warned. But with the traditional business model of the previous vendors, only the paying customer. So I don't think this is very much ethical. I think our system is more ethical. We warn everybody for free. That's why we are not adopting the responsible disclosure. And another question, but why you should warn the vendor because it's ethical. No, we are just a marketplace. When a security researcher is giving the research to us, we ask him, do you want the vendor to be warned, yes or no? It's his decision, not the marketplace decision. NASDAQ, from which you are buying the stocks, is not at all involved in the decision board of the companies who are listed in the market. And it's the same for us. We are not involved in the decision of releasing the vulnerability to the vendor or not. It's a task that belongs to the person who discovered the vulnerabilities. Eventually, if such person will tell us, okay, I want to put the vulnerability on the market, and I also want to warn the vendor, I know anyway that it will take some months until the patch will be eventually released, so I can still market my discovery, then we will warn the vendor. We will just follow the instruction of the owner of the intellectual property of the research, because this is what the market is. It's a place through which the intellectual property of the security researchers can be traded. So our role, it is just to provide the space. As I told you, we were working for nearly 1 year with lawyers. And it's really a gray area. I have a lot of people, I know a lot of people, and one is just in front of me, who told me, I had a similar idea a few years ago, but I didn't do it. And most of them, when you ask, well, why you didn't do it? I was afraid. The same tipping point published on their own blog paper a few days ago, in which they're saying, we had the same idea a few years ago, but we didn't do it. We were afraid of the legal implication. What kind of problem can you see? Well, a lot of problems. For example, depending from country to country, you can be accused, if you are both WabiSabiLabi, so the marketplace, or the researcher, of illegal possession of access code. This is, for example, a law which is present in Italy, or in Germany. It sounds crazy to me, because it's actually, if you are a good guy, you're using such tool for security purposes, so you're doing penetration tests. You don't do with criminal purposes. I have a very nice piece of paper. You know, in the last years, I was very much interested in the electronic jihad. I published a book on cyber warfare. And I had in my hand a copy of the Al-Qaeda manual, in which it is written that you can kill a person with a spoon or with a pen. And there is the instruction how to kill the person using the spoon, a teaspoon, or a pen. Now, when you go to buy a pen, under this law, the person who is selling you the pen should actually test you. Are you entitled to own a pen or not? Because you know, you can kill a person with a pen. You can put it in the eye orbit, and just by pressing it with the palm of your hand, you hit the brain, and the subject will die immediately. So it's really dangerous to possess a pen. And the same is for security codes, for vulnerabilities. Depending what you want to do, if you are a criminal guy, you can do crimes with vulnerability or with a pen. But if you are a normal person, you are supposed to buy a security research for security purposes. You are a security company and you want to do penetration testing. Full stop. That's it. There is nothing bad in possessing a piece of code related to a vulnerability. Always in my country, wrongful purchase. It is like when you meet somebody on the street and this person is selling you a bicycle at a very good price, and then you decide to buy this bicycle. You don't know this person, but he wants to sell you a bicycle. You find the price very attractive, and you buy the bicycle. And then you find eventually later that the bicycle was stolen. Well, under Italian law, for example, you are part of the crime. It's called wrongful purchase. Possession of stolen goods. Why? If you take an open source code, no problem. We have no problems for such a marketplace for open source codes. Most of the problems are coming from the closed source codes. If you have a closed source system, then you might want to do some reverse engineering to understand where the vulnerability is. In such way, you are violating let's say, the property of the software owner. You're not entitled to do that. You're stealing part of the intellectual property, and that's a crime. Money laundering. We have a marketplace. We are receiving security research from somebody, and we are paying the discoverer using the money which is coming from the buyer. If the good it is considered under the law a stolen good, then also the marketplace in which the goods is traded is criminal of money laundering. Then property theft, reverse engineering, pure reverse engineering. In some countries, doesn't matter. You can be accused of reverse engineering if you were discovering vulnerabilities, which is quite interesting because it's really tricky to demonstrate that you found the vulnerability by reverse engineering. The vulnerability can be discovered in several ways, but they can take you to the court in the meantime, and you have to pay the lawyers and so on. Terrorism. If somebody was purchasing from your marketplace a piece of code and using this piece of code was doing something bad, you will be part of the plot, of the evil plot. It's like accusing the person who was selling the pen to the terrorist, who later was using the pen to kill somebody. But still, the law, it is in such a way that you might be accused as well. And wrong use of end-user license agreement. You received your copy of operating system in license. You don't own it. You don't have the right to use it for purposes different from the purposes stated in the license. And in the license, it is not stated that you can use the operating system to do security research. So they can sue you. Blackmailing, I was explaining you before, you can be sued because you are doing this because you want to force the software producer to pay the security research. Nobody wants to force anybody, of course. Even if, in my own view, it would be quite normal that the software producer, at the end, would be the one who would buy exclusively the vulnerability, because it should be a cost accounted in the normal research and development process and cost in the budget of the software producer. They didn't do it before, securing the software. They wanted to sell it vulnerable, fine. But then, who should then carry the expenses of securing the software? The customers? No, my friend. It should be the software producer. In this sense, we have a very old law concept coming from the Latin, Romans, called caveat emptor, which was saying, basically, let the buyer beware. You buy it at your own risk. When you buy the software, there is always the clause, you buy it as is. We warn you, you buy it as is. It's your problem if it doesn't work. Since maybe a few decades, in the whole industry of the goods which are produced in the world, the guarantees have been applied in such a way that anyway the producers of anything is liable if that thing doesn't work. You buy that camera, and the camera producer, if the camera is carrying any defect, they have to fix it. And they are liable for malfunction. If the battery is exploding of your cell phone, they will pay you. You can sue them. Not in the software industry. In the software industry, you pay for something which is licensed, but what happens, it's your problem, which is very strange. Always talking about caveat emptor, if you watch on Wikipedia, you can see that the buyer could not recover from the seller for defects on the property that render the property unfit for ordinary purposes. The only exception was if the seller actively concealed latent defects. What does it mean? Well, I'm selling you a software, but I'm not doing anything to hide the eventual defects. So I cannot be considered really liable. I could be considered liable under the Roman law, of course, if I was hiding the defects. Tell me what is the law against the reverse engineering is. It's exactly this. It's denying you the possibility to look for hidden defects. And that's incredible. And nobody is talking about it. Everybody is accepting it. Only in the software industry. There is no other industry in the world accepting such situation. That must be changed. We should turn into the Latin concept of the caveat venditor, which means the seller is forced to take responsibility for the products they are selling and discourages sellers from selling products of unreasonable quality. We would be without operating systems today if such thing, let's say commercial operating system, if such thing would be in place, enforced. Because they're all defective. No, I remember I have a Mac OS X, and everybody was saying a couple of years ago, oh, it's perfect. Yes, my S is perfect. As soon as the hacker community was starting to look into it, they found as many vulnerabilities as in Windows. And you buy this operating system, even if it's based on open source code. Now, I already told you the amletic dilemma, to disclose or not to disclose. I anticipated these slides. We decided not to disclose unless the security researcher, who is the real owner of the property, which is the security research, intellectual property, will tell us to go to the security vendor, to the software vendor, and inform the vendor about the vulnerability. In which case, in our marketplace, we will tell to the people, you are going to buy something, some vulnerabilities, and the information on such vulnerabilities has been transferred also to the vendor. So you have to know that the life cycle of this vulnerability, it is definitely smaller than the life cycle of a vulnerability which was not disclosed to the vendor. What did we do in the first 3 months of our activity? Well, we went to vacation, definitely. So instead of 3 months, I would talk about 2 months. In the first 2 months of real activity, since we opened the website, we had a very good surprise. Nearly 1,000 people registered to the website. You can visit the website freely. You don't need